Joe, can you hear me through the audio? Can you hear okay?
I can hear you loud and clear.
I don't know if Joe's there. I know that Joe had kind of put this together. I didn't know he was going to start by do a little hosting and tell us a little bit about it, or what the plan was. I might just give you a minute.
Yes, Joe. Hi, Joe.
Joe, can you hear us?
Oh, he went back on mute.
We'll give just a sec.
Hey, Joe, Ravi here. Hey, I think he's expecting you to start the meeting.
Joe, should we get started, or is
I can hear loud and clear.
Some kind of introduction, or we should get going?
So, do you want to just talk to the gentleman? Correct. It's just John. Yeah. Hang on 1 second. Hey, John.
Yeah.
John, I'm on the phone with Joe, and
Okay.
he's unable to hear you.
Okay.
And suddenly I think quite a few people had joined, had accepted this invitation, but there are only the three of us. So he's wondering if there is an issue with getting into the system, getting into Zoom.
We've been doing these a few times, 4 or 5 times a week, and haven't had troubles with that. Ravi, can you hear me okay?
John, what is your cell number? I can ask Joe to call you directly.
Sure. My number is 435.
1 second. 435.
213.
213.
5779.
5779.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Joe, did you get the number? John's number?
I don't know if he can hear me or not.
If not, we'll just have to reschedule Joe. 435 213 5779. Yes, it is 435 213 5779. Okay, sounds good. Okay, bye. Joe's going to call you, John.
Sounds great. I just sent out a message to everyone if they could hear me, and somehow my autocorrect just put the wrong here. So there's the correct here underneath it. Would you chime in if you're having trouble hearing on the chat? If you don't know where the chat is, on the controls over there, there's usually 3 dots that says more, and you can open up the chat room. That way you can ask questions or any of those things there. I don't know if Ravi's the only one that can hear me, or if anyone else can as well. Here's Joe.
I'm using my computer microphone.
Hello. Hi. Okay, I see that 16 people are on the meeting, but I only see 3 people in video. Are they trying to join the meeting with phones, do you think? Right. This hasn't been a problem before. I'm trying to think of what might have been changed. Um, I've been trying to unmute your audio, and it's not. Mm, okay. Let me see if I can uh, see if there's a setting or something somewhere. Just give me 2 seconds, and I'm going to, if there's a way for you to send out messages and tell people we are still doing it, and just to hang tight, we'll get this figured out. All right. Thanks, Joe. Bye.
Hey, John,
Yes.
do you want me to hang in here or go out of Zoom and come back in?
Hey, Ravi, I couldn't understand you. Would you say that one more time, please?
Or would you like me to stay connected, or do you want me to go out of Zoom and come back?
Why don't you stay connected for right now?
Okay.
Let me see if we can figure out what's happening here. Let me go to the meetings and see if there's some kind of a strange setting that's keeping us from hearing our call-ins. Just one moment.
Or maybe some of them are, do you think some of them are just doing an audio call and not using the video?
It's possible. I would hope that people would video in so they can see the things we're showing.
Exactly.
I
Yeah,
don't.
I'll hang in here while you figure out what needs to be done.
Okay. All right. Let me try to send that out. Not allowing me to unmute. I can't figure that out. Let me see. Okay, let's try this.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hey there. This is Josh Hubert.
And Josh, this is Sean Caldwell. We spoke on the phone. Is everyone able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay. If you would please, everyone, if you would please open up your chat as well. That way you can, if for some reason you can't hear, you can chat in or also send in messages. I'm hoping that that gets us there. So what I would recommend is if we can, when you're not talking, go ahead and mute out your own audio. And Joe, can you hear me now? Joe and I have been trying to make sure we've got the audio going here. Okay, looks like we've got quite a few who are on. I'm just sending a message asking if there's anyone who cannot hear me on the chat, as well as if there is, would somebody please let me know. We want to make sure that everybody's on and set to go. Okay. I'm thinking that we about got that ready to go. Let's see if that. Okay. If anyone could chime in, can everybody see my screen there that says Shorefy?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right. For some reason,
John.
yes, sir.
Hey, all right.
We're here now. All right. So I think
Cool.
I believe we've got everybody. If anyone cannot hear, please hit us on the chat.
Thing here, 15 minutes late.
Perfect. All right. Well, first of all, Joe, did you want to do some type of an introduction or anything, or should we just jump right in and have me introduce myself, or Josh, or
Yeah, go for it. A lot of us, a lot of us have already been using Shorefy, and I've been pushing it with a lot of our franchises, letting them know about you. So some of them are pretty familiar, and some of them at least have an idea.
Perfect. Well, guys, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. And appreciate that both Josh and Joe have used our product a lot in the past. I know probably quite a few of you others have. Let's see, we've got from Mike that says echo is horrible. Is that my voice, or I heard it coming through with Joe's? Is my voice echoing? Okay, Joe, according to Mike, you are bad. I'm just messing with you.
Thanks, Mike.
All right. So after you guys have your, intercorporation fight there, that's good. No, thank you, Mike. And Joe, you were echoing on mine as well, but it sounds like we're okay now. So we're going to get rolling here. First of all, my name is John Caldwell, and I am the training director for Shorefy. And normally I get to do most of these trainings in person, but this actually allows us to do the Flying Locksmiths kind of together, and that's actually a great opportunity. I do miss going out though, because normally I get to go out and go out and help with installs and hear what people are doing, and so it's a little bit strange to do it this way, but I think we're all kind of getting used to a different reality right now. So thank you for your patience with the technology and everything, and I hope that everyone's staying safe and that this kind of unique, strange time will pass quickly. I'm thinking that, let me ask really quickly, and I know really the best way to chime in here is probably on the chat. So would everybody, if you have the chat up, just chime in with a number of how many times or how many Shorefy units you guys have used ballpark, or if you never have, just say none. So I get a feel for how adept or how comfortable you all are with Shorefy as a product. Okay, we've got some nones, which is great. And we will take care of that today. We'll figure out how to help. Okay, a couple. All right, you can see that we've got, okay. So a few people, but most of you have not. All right, so just to give me a feel, it sounds like we've got a few out there, but the majority have not. So we're just gonna get this rolling. And you guys, here's the thing. We are very informal. You guys were welcome to interrupt me. If you have a question, that's just answer whenever I feel like it. We can jump in or just put it in the chat, and as we get to a stopping point, we'll stop and answer all the questions. We've got about 3 major sections we're going to go through, and so we'll obviously stop and catch up on all of our questions at that point. But if you need to interrupt, that's fine. Just to jump in and say, hey, I've got a question about that, and it'll be good. All right. All right. So if I could please, Joe, would you mind helping me with one thing? And that is, we're monitoring the chat. I will try to keep an eye on that as we're going, but there may be a time that something comes through that I miss. So if Joe would mind helping monitor that chat, I appreciate that. Thanks so much, Joe. Appreciate the respond in the chat. Okay. So, welcome everyone. Flying Locksmiths. It's a great company, a lot of branches, and I've had the opportunity to get to know a few of you over the years, and a couple of you even have, or last few months actually, but a couple of you have even been on some of our trainings before. So that'll be great. So today we are going to spend some time talking a little bit about the Surefire radio, what it does, why it's unique. And then, of course, we're going to talk about why it's important to Flying Locksmith branches, what the value proposition is for you guys as integrators, as company owners, and so on. We'll talk a little bit about the different products we have. And one of the things that I love doing is going out in the field, because I get to see unique ways that integrators are using them. They'll call me up, they'll say, hey, can we put this into a shipping barge? And I'm like, well, let me think. We talk and we work through it, and they're used in a lot of unique ways. Now, I've chosen 3 use cases because I think there'll be ones that will possibly kind of just open up your mind to other possibilities and to ways for you to expand your customer base. So we'll do that. We'll spend some time on the app showing you how to use that in the field to check your wiring, to do settings and different configurations. And then the last bit, we'll go through some wiring, how to wire it up, how to use it in different applications, what are some of the optional configurations, and that's the plan, unless there's anything specific that you'd like to take a look at before we get started. And you apologize, I have a little bit of a scratchy voice this morning. All right. So because a lot of you are new to Surefire, I'm going to start with what the radio is, because the truth is we have 23 patents on a specific radio technology. And that's really what the base of what Surefire does. If you're like me, over the years, a wireless product comes out and you're often disappointed. I took my daughter to Walmart about, I don't know, a couple of years ago, and she wanted to get these little walkie-talkies, and they said on 36-mile range, and she was really excited because grandma only lives about 25 miles away, and she was going to talk to grandma on these little walkie-talkies. Well, as you guys know, the end of the story is you go about 3 blocks and those walkie-talkies are gone, right? And so we feel kind of the same when we come up with a new wireless controls product, because we get kind of disappointed. It promises one thing and delivers another. Because that Surefire, in that sense, Surefire is very different. We don't use standard radio technology in modulations. We have, like I said, 23 patents on a radio that uses what's called chirp modulation, and it only needs a small portion of a single wave. And because we only use a tiny portion of the wave to encrypt our data, we send that out 213 different signals in all directions. We can get out of things like Faraday cages. We can get through metal boxes. We can get through, I installed one through 31 metal walls, a mile through any kind of obstruction, really, brick, mortar, concrete. And that's a pretty big, claim. I get that. We even say 50 miles line of sight, and that's a pretty big claim. You're thinking, well, there's no way this radio will do that. But if you remember that this is a very different technology, we're not doing things the way that RF radio is normally used. So without getting into too much of the details, truth is this will do some things that normal RF will not. We've gone from a Faraday cage set in the basement of a brick building a mile away to another brick building with another Faraday cage set in the basement, and we were able to communicate, which is really unheard of in most radio situations. When I came to the company, I had my doubts, I'll be honest with you. I thought there is no way until I tested it. So for our customers who are very concerned with security, we have 128-bit AES encryption, 72 channel hopping, over-the-air rekeying, which is like a rolling code, and then, like I said, multipath, so we have redundant signals. We have people who have us in locations like airports and hospitals and fire stations and police stations and social media buildings. They have to have it work, and it has to be secure. And that's really where we fit, is we are in. It has to be secure, has to work every time. So in that way, we are actually more secure than wire, if you think about that. We are not through a drop ceiling somewhere or through a bathroom wall where somebody with a little bit of gumption wants to just go out and harvest those codes. That's something that is really important to a lot of people. Facebook actually hired us to go out to Singapore and do a test there because they knew that the wire that was in their building already was susceptible, and they wanted to make it more difficult. And they hired a guy out of Microsoft to try to break our encryption. He couldn't do it. So anyway, if you think of it as more secure than wire, it kind of changes the thought process, because wire is kind of always thought to be the most reliable, secure thing. The truth is there's no security where the wire is running. You can secure both sides. But so here's the thing about this. I don't expect you to believe me, okay? I don't expect you to take my word for it. The truth is that it's enough of a revolutionary technology and different enough that we are willing to give you a set of testing and evaluation kits that you take out on your jobs, you take on your site walks and whatever, that you can prove it to yourself that this is the product that's going to work for you. And we'll do it free of charge. What this is it's going to, this is a website which basically takes you to this number. Now this number, I want you to write this down right now if you can, please, because I want you to get your test kit. You just need to call this number, and there's a couple people there that will answer the phone, and they'll just ask you a little question about your business, get an address for you, and send it right out to you. We'll get it out there to you within about 7 to 10 days. So please write this number down. Call. We want to give you these test kits free of charge. They're about a $200 value that we are happy to share, because we also understand that a lot of times you guys have felt lied to, for lack of a better term. Okay, so anyway, we'll get these sent out to you, and I've got a little bit of a short video that explains how they're used, and enjoy that for a second.
SureFi is a revolutionary RF technology designed from the ground up to communicate over long distances and through heavy obstructions. Utilizing advanced techniques and modulations, SureFi takes RF to a whole new level of reliability and security. See the powerful possibilities of SureFi RF technology on your own project with the SureFi Evaluation Kit. Inside your kit are 2 range testers. Turn on both devices using the power switch on the back of the units. Once powered on, you can send a test signal from one device to another by pressing the button on the front of either of the units. The blue lights on the front of the device indicate the test signal strength. Instead of pulling wire, sometimes hundreds of feet in a building, from a thermostat to a furnace, first perform a range test using your SureFi Evaluation Kit. After verifying the system can successfully communicate from the thermostat to the furnace, you can confidently install a wireless SureFi system, saving time and money. Are there natural obstacles such as rivers and hills between your equipment locations? Use your range testers to confirm that your SureFi units will be able to communicate from your equipment locations. Once verified, you can install a SureFi system. No need for costly trenching or running wire across water. Traditionally, installing access control at a multi-story parking garage is labor-intensive. With the Range Evaluation Kit, you can efficiently test all your entrances. Once you've established that SureFi will work, simply install a unit at each access point. To demonstrate its signal strength, we use the SureFi Range Evaluation Kit at the Empire State Building. Keeping one range tester in the lobby, we brought the other to the 80th floor. Despite 953 feet of RF interference, construction, and dense materials, we successfully maintained a clear signal. If you are looking for more ideas on how you can use SureFi in your project, visit our YouTube channel. With potential like this, how will you put your free evaluation kit to the test? For more information about SureFi or to see how you can get your free evaluation kit, contact us today at surefi.com.
Okay. Now, there was a lot of stuff in there that may not apply to Flying Locksmiths, specifically about, an HVAC unit or whatever, but the idea is you can take these with you and take them out and show your customers, look, this big warehouse with 17 doors, we can use this, and it works, and you can see how many redundant signals you have. It just gains confidence in both your customers and you as an installer, because you obviously want that to work every time. All right. Now, this page probably is the most important thing we talk about for you guys. Obviously, the wiring is really important, but this is how this unit helps you. If this is just another, pretty thing with some flashy lights and stuff, but it really doesn't help you become more efficient and your guys to be able to do more jobs, then it's really a waste of time. So this page we're going to talk a little about your value proposition. Please interrupt me if you would like. These are things that we can talk about. I've had the opportunity to be out on about 300 installations this last year, and the installers I talk to, those are the things that they're telling me is helpful for them. I ask them a lot of questions when I go out and sometimes help with them. So the first thing is outbidding your competition. Surefire helps in two ways. Number one, if you have a job that needs, for example, trenching across a parking lot or through, like a parking garage or through an HOA from doors in or whatever, a lot of that expense is going to be in wiring and time and trenching and bending conduit and all that. With Surefire, that goes away. So your bid can be less, number one. Number two, if let's say you go into a bid and they like your price, but the second thing they always want to know is, well, when can you start? Because they think that you're sitting around in your office, nothing to do, and they think you can start yesterday. So the truth is you obviously are managing your company saying, okay, I got to keep my jobs lined up, but not so far out that I can't be flexible enough to land a job that I need. And so if you tell that person, well, we're going to be 4 months out, 5 months out, chances are you're not going to land that job. Sometimes yes, but often no. If you can tell them, well, I'm only going to be a few weeks out, better chance that you can land that. And the way Surefire helps with that is that it allows you to complete the jobs you already have in substantially less time. If you take out all of the wiring, the trenching, the conduit, all that, a lot of times that takes out often days of labor and expense. So you can get through the jobs faster and get to the new ones faster so you can win more of those days. So that's the first one. The second one's an interesting one, and I'll tell you, the people that I've had the chance of working with out in the field have all been very impressive by way of their capabilities. They're well-trained, and I'm just trying to get over here to get somebody in the meeting. You'll excuse me one second. I'm trying to manage this. Nope, that's not working. For some reason, it's making me admit every single person in the meeting, and I apologize. It's taking a little bit of time to jump over and fix that. We'll get back to where we were, just to move things out of the way. All right, here we go. So the people I go out and meet with, they're really competent. They know what they're doing. They know how to wire things up. They do all these professional trainings. They are the ones that are making you guys money. And a lot of times, obviously, you guys are a lot of those people. The weird thing about that is these guys who are making you money by being able to program, set limits, do all the stuff that you have to do. Halfway through this job, we hand them a shovel or a trencher or a conduit and say, well, why don't you go out and dig a hole or bend pipe for the next 6 hours? It just is a waste of their talents and capabilities. So I tell them this all the time. If you can multiply your star integrators, instead of having them dig holes for half a day, if they can get on to the next job and do 3 jobs in the time he was doing 1 before, you become a lot more efficient and a lot more profitable. So that's number 2. Number 3, we all love callbacks, right? Callbacks stink. And part of the reason is not because we don't want our customers to be happy, but because we just don't make any money. You're losing money, you're protecting your reputation is what you're doing. So this product, the Surefire family of products, has an amazing track record. Now, I'm not going to lie to you and say, well, it's never going to fail, because it's just all electronics have the possibility they can fail. But we have a 0.4 failure rate, which is less than 0.5%. We've been really pleased with that. So most, 99.6% of the time, if you go out to a callback, it's not going to be because of a Surefire unit. And it also makes it so that the wires aren't in the ground. So when lightning hits, it doesn't travel up that wire and fry stuff and continue exacerbating or making you know, those callbacks happen more and more often. So confident with the product. We are all made in-house in the U.S. In Utah is where our company is. And we make everything in-house, which makes so we have a really great supply chain. So the last one I want to talk to you about is a really interesting one. This came from a guy named Chris, who's a friend of mine and an installer in Vegas. And he started using Certified, became confident with it, and said, you know, I've got a lot of jobs that I've already bid and they've turned it down. I'm sure that all you guys get your bid every single time, but in this case, Chris didn't get every single one. So when he gets one, he's done all the work for it, he just sticks it in a file and says, well, maybe they'll do it next year. He went back to that file of bids that had turned it down, and he went in there and he said, okay, which ones of these have a lot of money in trenching, conduit, running wire? And he went back to that file and he started calling people and said, hey, you know what, that $100,000 job we had for you, 50,000, that was his equipment. The other 50 was running wire and conduit and repatching the parking lot or whatever. And now we can do that for, you know, $55,000 because we're using a new technology. All of a sudden that thing drops in half, and he's been able to pick up about 60% of those bids in the dead file. So a very useful thing, especially because you've already done the work for it. You've already done the bid. You've already gone out to do it. It's just a matter of calling back, giving them a new price, and you can pick up some more jobs. So I don't plan on spending nearly as much time on the other slides, but I wanted you to discuss with you just how to make yourselves more profitable as a company, as individual integrators. And I know that you guys are franchise holders, some of you. So anyway, some of the current products we have, most of you who've used them probably have used the green one, which is the Wiegand wireless bridge. And that has Wiegand inputs as well as 2 relays each direction. So a total of 4 relays. The blue one, the relay wireless bridge, is exactly the same as the Wiegand, minus the Wiegand. So we have 4 relays, but no Wiegand input for those times you just need Rexa buttons or whatever. The analog, which is the orange one, that is used for variable sensors coming in, like temperature sensors, air pressure sensors, whatever. And then also variable controls going out. And then the 4th one is we call it the HVAC because it was designed for that initially, but I've used this one a lot in access control. This is a one-to-multiple application that has the ability to have 8 receivers and 1 controller. Now, this does not have Wiegand, so some people are getting excited like, hey, we can do Wiegand on 8 different bridges. It's not quite. This is just relays, and there are 8 relays going out and 2 relays coming back. So if you have a one-to-multiple application where you have one person needs to open up 8 doors with a single push of a button, or like in Texas, we had one in the Dallas area. They had 27 points of entry, and the 27 points of entry needed all to be pushed with the same button that was activated by a Knox box. So you have a Knox box, he opens it up. As soon as he turns the switch, all 27 entry points open. And they wanted to do that, and we used our one-to-multiple to be able to do that. So it's really a really helpful and useful tool for things like that, as well as peripheral alarms. Because of the 2 returns, I've been able to put them out on peripheral alarms, you know, remote cabin monitoring, places like that, and it really works well. Excuse me. Tuberculosis kicking in today. All right. Is everybody still there? For some reason, we've lost a couple of things on this participants. I'm going to just close that out and redo it. I apologize. Trying to manage this one's been a little bit interesting. So we'll do our participants again and see if we can get you all there. Yep, you're back. I don't know what happened, but there we go. All right. So we've been talking about the Wiegand. The Wiegand's the one that most people are using. You have the Wiegand input and the output on the other side. So you have, in each package, you have a controller interface and a remote interface. And it's basically just replacing wire. You have wire that goes in between 2 units. Instead of doing that, you're just going to wire them on the ends and send wirelessly in between. So we have a controller interface that goes at your Dorking 1838 or whatever, and you got your Wiegand remote interface that's going to go and connect to your point of entry. Door strikes, RFID readers, Rexit buttons, whatever you've got. Okay, and we've already talked about how it has the input, the 2 relays, the Wiegand, no trenching, drilling, conduit. But the last one is it's daisy chain compatible or capable. And so if you have something that needs to go 7 miles and the Surefire unit will go about 2.5 because of obstruction, you can daisy chain these together and get all the way down, go over the top of a mountain, whatever you need to do. You can loop them together and just keep going. So it's kind of nice. Let's see, I'm seeing, so Ravi's asking about pulling some questions together for a Q&A. I wasn't seeing questions yet. If there are questions, please jump in and interrupt me because I'm not seeing any yet, but okay. One question was whether the units are indoor or outdoor. They can be used anywhere, but if they're outdoor, they're not waterproof. So we recommend you put them in a NEMA box or some kind of a steel box that's got a seal on it so that they can be used outdoors. So we have them used all over the place, indoor and outdoor. It just depends on what kind of housing you put them in. But the units themselves are not waterproof. So, all right. It's a good question, Ravi. Thank you. Now, let me catch up on any other questions before we move into some of these use case scenarios. Is there anyone else that has a question? Ravi's one about the indoor, outdoor, anything else? If so, throw it on the chat and we'll just keep going until you stop me. All right, so this is one of the use cases that I thought was really interesting because of the concept that it might open up some ideas of what you're doing. If you have large school campuses or municipalities that you do work with, this is a situation where we had a large municipality. They had 7 major buildings in the municipality that were, library, city hall, police station, all these different places. And they wanted to expand their access control to everywhere, including their traffic lights, the gun range, the cemetery, the parks where they park the, they have little concession stands for the baseball games. They also park their lawnmower. They wanted to put access control in everywhere. Okay. The challenge with that, though, is it's extremely expensive. But what we decided to do, and this was another, once again, an integrator that called me and said, hey, can we do this? And he basically wanted to, let's say, take this water monitoring shed that was about 5 blocks away from the library and put a Surefire unit in it, put the other Surefire unit at the library, and so that it was like an extra door for the library. And that way he wouldn't have to add all these extra things, but because of the strength of the Surefire unit, it'll go 5 blocks and allow that to be an extra door. So they could easily expand a few at a time, as well as pick up all of these units without having to get internet to it or any kind of a standalone controller. So it makes it so it's very easy to expand. It's almost like using Surefire as a hotspot, reaching out a mile away. All right, I see another question. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, it was just a question from Ravi on the video signal, which I believe we discussed, which is not capable, correct?
Right. So, and to give you a little bit bigger of an answer here, the trade-off for having the type of penetration and long range we have with the Surefire radio is that we're kind of medium to low bandwidth, which means for things like Wiegand, control signals, they don't take a lot of bandwidth. That's easy. We actually do have a serial data bridge that moves RS-45 and RS-232. That's I'll be coming up soon. I've been installing them all over the country the last few months. And they can move about 80,000 bits per second, which is not a ton, not even close to enough for video, but it will move command signals, RS-45 and 232, programming signals, things like that. So this works great for command signals, programming signals, but not for video. I wish it could. I wish I could wave a magic wand and beat physics, but it's a little bit difficult that way. CDVI access control systems is just another question. So 2 doors when we have to utilize 4 boxes to make, so we need to run wire box to box. CDVI utilize RS-45. Okay, I have gone and I have connected with a CDVI unit, and I'm trying to remember on this one. It depends. I'll kind of give you the protocol. If these peripheral, your 4 boxes out there on the periphery that have to be connected into the controller, the auxiliary boxes or daughter boxes, they're called different things. That secondary box, if it stores its own information by way of credentials, then it just doesn't update, maybe every 10 minutes or when something happens, and it just updates from time to time, then usually the Surefire unit will work. If this is something that's just polling constantly, tons of data and just dumping data back and forth, and they're not storing the credentials on the remote boxes, then I found that in the ones that I've installed, they don't work as well. So Mike, I'm going to leave you in just a few minutes. You'll have my access or my contact information. Let's talk about that particular system you're looking for. I remember installing into a CDVI, but I don't remember off the top of my head whether or not they store those credentials on the peripheral or if they have to pull. So contact me afterwards with my cell phone that I'm going to leave for everybody, and we can figure that out. Okay. Thank you so much. Great question. All right.
This is where Surefire can.
All right. So this is just a short video about that municipality install we did and how we did the Surefire hotspots. So here we go.
This is where Surefire can help. Now they don't have to try to find the money to put a standalone access system into every small venue and water monitoring shed throughout the entire city, and then struggle to keep them all up to date with never-ending changes. Many cities choose to just do without. With Surefire, they don't have to. They can use their existing access control system, which are centered in some of the larger service administrative buildings shown on this map. They can use the Surefire unit to project an encrypted wireless signal with the ability to control these remote locations throughout their entire city. For illustration, here we see the location of those principal buildings, projecting a 1.5 mile radius signal, which is easily within the Surefire radio's capability. The white dots represent some of the areas in the city that need the addition of access control. These areas have multiple doors and gates. By using the Surefire unit in these parks, cemeteries, gun ranges, and utility service areas, these areas can connect to and piggyback on the existing access control system, allowing them to control the entire municipality's responsibilities, saving them thousands in equipment and gaining peace of mind. The green dots show the location of the traffic control lights. One area of concern that the city has is the ability to efficiently control the traffic light access boxes for law enforcement, crossing guards, and others. These lights can also be connected with Surefire, allowing easy access and accountability to all of their areas citywide.
Okay, so basically that application was one where we just, like I said, had that central location where the Surefire could reach out and added multiple doors on the periphery that could easily be connected into the main buildings. So, by the way, on the chat, I put in my phone number for everyone. That's my cell phone, so you're welcome to call. This next one was about elevators. I don't know if any of you are doing elevators. I would assume some of you do the access control in elevators. I won't do a long introduction to it, but the elevators are an interesting way that you could possibly expand your business if you're not doing them yet. Without having to connect into that traveler cable, Surefire actually, there's about 4 different locations in the whole system that we've put Surefire units. So take a look.
As elevators age and new technology becomes available, building occupants want the ability to add heightened security and access control to every floor of the building. This becomes a challenge as cables deteriorate and often have insufficient wires to handle these upgrades. Wire is difficult and expensive, and wireless has been traditionally unreliable. One of the places notoriously unfriendly to wireless signal is an elevator shaft. You experience this when you get in the elevator and you drop cell phone calls or data coverage. This is because an elevator shaft works like a Faraday cage to effectively minimize regular radio signals. But Surefire is not a regular radio signal, and elevator shafts are no match for Surefire. I have attended multiple elevator installations, and it amazes me how many places in their control systems a Surefire can actually be used, making these installations easy and cost-effective. Here, to require credentials to call the elevator, this prevents unauthorized persons from waiting in the elevator until someone on a secured floor calls the elevator, allowing non-credential access to the controlled floor. The next place is here behind the floor button panel, inside the elevator car. This allows you to add access control for individual floors on the inside of the elevator without needing extra cable, which can be extremely expensive, or having installers zip tying additional wires along the full length of the traveler cable. This severely hampers its reliable operation, even its ability to pass inspection. Next, a SureFi can be used between the elevator control device and the elevator control unit. This allows the elevator control device to be easily accessible instead of being parked on top of a difficult to reach elevator car. Depending on the model, the SureFi serial bridge can be used for RS-232 and 485 data between the ECDs and the ECUs. The final location is controlling the relays positioned near the elevator motor with the SureFi relay or related devices. If you have 8
Tired
building, for example.
Yeah, I got that.
The controls from a more easily accessible.
Not today.
Many floors below.
We got more calls coming in. I got those 2 locks replaced.
Okay. Now I'm hearing somebody in the background. Let me answer Robbie's question that was on the
front door. You have
Are
to key
these
it
a
up to their
many?
master.
Let me see if I can.
So that's done.
I can't tell where that band's coming from yet. Maybe in somebody's background. All right, if you get some noise in the background, go ahead and mute that. Robbie's question was whether this is a one-to-many or one-to-one transceiver situation. All right, I'm turning this a little bit so you can see most applications. This is going to be the double doors at the remote location,
right?
And this is going to be the controller location. So in most cases, when you're doing,
I'll get with Greg and Amanda
and see,
get some cylinders keyed up for that.
Yeah.
So you just prefer just do a walkthrough on it, let you.
I think I just muted somebody, so I think we got that one. So in the case of the Wiegand unit, it is one-to-one. In the case of the HVAC unit, which is really an 8 relay out, 2 relay back type of scenario, we can do one-to-multiple, and it just repeats what each one did. So they'll come in a one-to-one scenario, and then you just would purchase however many expansion boards you need on top of that, so up to 8. Okay, with the serial data, we've been out there connecting those in, and because they have the ability, like OSDP, to self-address, which Wiegand does not, the self-addressing aspect of OSDP and digital could possibly allow it to do one-to-multiple. That's more of just a programming issue, but as we're set up now, everything's one-to-one except for that that HVAC one-to-multiple relay scenario. So hopefully that answers that question, Robbie. Great question. All right, the last one I'm going to show you, of course, last one I'm going to show you is one that I think is one of the best ideas that I've ever seen. We had a situation where I got a call from one of our installers. He was doing access control for a warehouse about 5 or 6 miles from the SureFi factory where we make all of our stuff. And he, well, first of all, a temporary worker got on there, and it was really sad. It was only stand-up type of things. She backed up, messing around with the forklift, and she backed up into the wall, and it cut off the bottom part of her leg. It was a sad deal, but they immediately called him because he had done their access control and said, okay, how are we going to add access control to the forklift? And so he calls me and he says, how are we going to do this? So I take a bunch of parts down with me. We go down there and we figure it out. And so we were able to add access control to the forklift. And you can take a look at this video that it helps explain it. I actually think it's a really great idea and nobody's doing it. So this may be something that you guys could pick up in your areas for fulfillment centers, anywhere that has a forklift or anything similar. So here you go.
Warehouse administrators can increase safety and profitability for the company as well as employees. So how do you do this in an efficient, cost-effective way? The solution is SureFi. Using the same badge or access fob they use to get into the building, your qualified forklift drivers can now start up and shut down their forklifts, as well as be responsible for the way they drive. This allows management to limit access of reach trucks or counterbalance forklifts, for example, to only those who are checked out and certified for their unique use. How is this done? By using SureFi with their already existing access control system, forklifts can be set up to require credential verification to even start it, and can be monitored anytime they are in use at the facility. How did this application come about? Well, unfortunately, there was an incident in a warehouse near SureFi's corporate facilities where a temporary worker decided to get on a forklift, turn it on easily with the flip of a switch, and accidentally backed into a wall, severing her leg. This tragic event caused the managers of this facility to seek out a way to control access to the various types of material handling vehicles, as well as a way to track any impact incidents. This is done by placing SureFi units in every forklift and material handling vehicle in the entire facility. It controls the ignition of the vehicle and is connected to an impact sensor which, when triggered, sends an alert via the relay on the SureFi unit as an event back to the management team. They can easily identify a time-stamped impact or can set an alarm to alert the necessary people to react to an incident.
Okay, so you can see that by basically putting them on a forklift, we're basically making a forklift a mobile door, and we added 24 forklifts to that warehouse. So Josh asks, is this through a toggle function for the forklift? Kind of. So basically what we did is we set it up like a door, and put an access control, a card reader right on the NEMA box there on the forklift. It would send back, and if they had the credential to be able to drive that forklift, it closed a relay and turned the ignition on. And then they would have a turn off button when they were done, and then it would shut down, it would reset the door. And then we also had as you saw in there, an impact sensor that if it got hit hard, it would send close the relay, send an event, and they could track, hey, Bob, what did you hit at 2:30, whatever, so they can figure that out. So there's a little bit more to it, but that's the basic concept of it. If you guys have any questions about how that's done, please contact me. I'm happy to help you get that set up, because there are thousands, tens of thousands, I don't know, hundreds of thousands maybe of forklifts in this country, and I'm sure that the due diligence and the ability to protect themselves from lawsuit and things like that and people's injuries would really make it so that a lot of these locations would like to put access control on there. So anyway, it was just a great idea that one of the installers gave me, and I was involved in putting in. And there are 1,000 other possibilities. We've put them in trains, done traffic lights, done cabin monitoring, and even ISP monitoring, 8.5 miles from the middle of Phoenix all the way up to a relay ridge. We've done microwave tower telemetry monitoring and so on and so forth. By the way, Josh asked me also, is there any information written up on how to set that up? Yes, I can send some information out to you. Each forklift was a little bit different though. We've done about 4 or 5 different models, and those different forklifts had to kind of go through a process. I could send you out a basic overview of how that forklift was done. But it may be helpful if people want to do it to give me a call so I can tell them what to be looking for and how to set that up. So great question. Thanks, Josh. Okay. Now, this last one is a terrible picture that I made, and sorry, it's a little bit of a hot mess. But the reason I brought it up is this is a car charger application. They wanted to put access control on their car chargers out in front of a big company so that when the president drives up in his Tesla or whatever, he has a car charger instead of Grandma Mavis parking her car there from the night before or whatever. We basically got asked about this. Installer called me and said, how do I do this? And I said, well, what's the situation? The unique situation is they didn't want the car charger units opened up at all. They just wanted to give us access to the power so it wouldn't void the warranties. Well, what we ended up doing is we didn't know how to do that yet. So I got together with some of our electrical engineers, and we got some products out and did some testing, and we were able to come up with a wiring diagram that I took to this installer, and he and I put these in on 4 car chargers. The reason I bring it up is that we will do that for you. If you have a unique application that you'd like to use this for and say, I think this would be a great application, but I'm not exactly sure how to set this up. We have done this many times where people call us up, give us the application, give us the information, and we come up with a good solution for them. So use our engineering staff to help come up with solutions for you. It'd be great. All right, on the elevator one especially, I talked about some units coming up. This is some of the stuff that's coming down the pike. We've got a Relay Pro with 8 relays. We've got an Access Pro that's very similar to the Wiegand, but add OSDP, that new protocol. And then the serial data is at RS-45 and 232. The serial data is the one that's is closest to being released. It's pre-commercial right now. We've got it in a lot of applications running for testing and that kind of thing. But if you have a situation very similar to that ADVI one, or another situation you think, hey, maybe this could work for this, maybe it could work for that, just call me, touch base with me, email me, whatever, and we'll talk about it and see if that's a possible situation where we can get one out to you and we can test that and see if that will work for your application. So I have some. They're not commercially available yet, but I do have some. So let me know. All right. Any more questions before we move on to how the app works? Would you be sharing the slides for this? Ravi asked a question if I'd be willing to share the slides, and of course I'd be happy to send that. Ravi, would it be best to send that to you or to Joe, or where should I send that slide deck? He can get back with me on that as we move forward, but Joe, I send to Joe. Okay, I'll send those to Joe after we're done here. All right, so we have an app, and this is really actually a really great app. And part of the reason I like it so much is because when I'm in the field, it helps me become a lot more efficient, and I can troubleshoot things and figure out what's going on a lot easier. So as you see right there on the shared form, it's available on the App Store if you do Apple, or on Google Play if you do Android. I'm going to open up mine and mine's an Apple, but if yours is an Android, I've noticed that except for the newest phones, just in the last, I don't know, 6 months, the Surefire 1.0 works better for the Android. So when you're on Google Play, if yours is a little bit older of a phone, maybe not in the last 6 months, just download 1.0, it works a lot better. So when you turn on the app, it's going to give you a little window like this. You can see it in my shared screen, but you can also see it there. It has a little red window, and what you're going to do is you're going to place this over the QR code, which, let's see if I think you guys can see that, is right here. Turn this down just a little bit so you can see it. Is right here. I'm going to connect it to the controller side, but you can do it to either side. Controller has a few more options, and I'm going to put this over the QR code, and it's going to give me this screen. You can see it right there on the shared. The difference is on this one, on the bottom, that advanced settings is turned green. The reason it's green is because this unit is powered up. So now I can actually do more there. From the original screen, it tells you, it has all the wiring diagrams under the PDF manual. Also has a short 2-minute kind of animated video for people who've never installed one to get a feel for how that works. Okay, so that's available. If you click the advanced settings button, it's going to start a little light show over here. You can see that. And that wants you to push the test button that's on the bottom of the unit for 5 seconds. Once I push that for 5 seconds, it's going to connect via Bluetooth just right here. Now, as you know, the radio itself is not Bluetooth from one to the other. It's obviously Bluetooth won't go anywhere near that far. That's our proprietary chirp modulation technology. But when you're talking to the unit, pushing the button is proof of presence. This is Bluetooth. So this is really more of an app for installers to use in the field. So for you guys, and so how that works. So when it comes up, it'll come up with, let's see if I can get you to see that. It's very similar to this, a handful of options there. And on mine, the Apple one, the newest one, has documentation, videos, configuration, operating values, pair and unpair bridge, and troubleshooting. We'll go through those really quickly. We'll start with the operating values. I'm going to click the operating values button, and it'll bring up a screen very similar to this. And what you're looking at there is you're looking at a history of what the relays are doing, okay? You can see that, you know, if Grandma Mavis calls you up and says, my gate was open at 2 o'clock in the morning, you can go over there with your Surefire app and see what the history was and when that gate really was open. Now we're gonna trigger some of these relays, and you can see what happens. I'm gonna try to make sure you can see that. There you can see the yellow relay is open. Now the blue's open, and it releases, and it goes back. Okay, so you can see what's triggering, what's working, and see a history of it as you scroll across. Okay. The other thing on there is the Wiegand data. And this has been really helpful for me to know whether with an RFID reader, if I've reversed the wires or something, I'm getting an erroneous signal in the field. Being able to see what is coming through, it automatically detects the bit rate and it detects the facility code and the Wiegand code. It allows you to figure out if your wiring is right, if what's going on with the Wiegand. And then what happens is you can do the same thing at the remote. So the remote location says, oh yeah, you're getting the Wiegand in. And at the other side shows you're getting the Wiegand in, but it's not going to the controller or whatever. For troubleshooting, you can say, okay, here's where the problem is between here and here. And you can really nail down exactly where that is, okay? So we're gonna go into the controller configuration next. Controller configuration allows you to do the heartbeat time, disable or enable relay fail-safes. Okay, there's one other that I want to go through here with you. On the pair and unpair bridge is how you add the one to multiple or if one gets hit by lightning. Troubleshooting is one of my favorites for the field. Troubleshooting has the ability to trigger the relays manually. So instead of having to walk half a mile down the road to swipe a card, I just come up here, I trigger the relay, I close the relay. So that basically is very helpful for in the field having that app. All right, now we'll take a few minutes, and yes, Joe, I will send that to you, and he can put it on the TFL shared app. I want to take a couple of minutes and go through some basic wiring and answer any questions that you have, because I want you to feel confident with these when you have one in your hand. Now, I kind of made that a little bit different, but I'm blowing that up so that you can see each part. So the Wiegand bridge will come looking like this. All right, this is the remote interface, and this is the side I'm going to show you. This is the side that's going to go to the door, the gate, whatever it is that you're installing, okay? And this is what it looks like on the bottom, all right? So this is, and this is the same for both the remote and the controller interface. You have the first two there are the 12 volt DC and ground. Remember to please only use a regulated 12 volt power supply. If it's just some random one and it jumps up to 18, 19 volts, you will probably fry this unit. So we're rated from 9 to 15. Use a regulated power supply there. Just a second. And right next to it is the battery. The battery allows you to connect a backup battery, and the Surefire unit will be the charge controller. So you don't have to worry about getting a separate charge controller. It will take care of the batteries. The next one is the V-Bus, and that allows you to power 12 volts out to your door strikes or your motion sensors or your card readers or whatever. The challenge, or not the challenge, but the good thing about this is it's actually a very flexible location. We can actually use it to power those locations, or we can actually put in 24 volts if you want to have a relay close to 24 to power like a motorized crash bar or something. So the V-Bus is a really helpful thing. We'll go over a little bit more of that in a minute. The D0, D1 obviously is our Wiegand right there. Can everybody see that? I hope so. And then you have LED that you connect for your Wiegand, and then an auxiliary can be used also for the secondary LED or any kind of a indicator light or something that you want. Now, here's one thing that I get a call on from time to time. They'll call and they'll say the Wiegand isn't working. It's not going in, not sending. The Wiegand unit, whether that's an RFID unit or whether it's a card reader or a keypad, it must share a ground with the Surefire unit. So if they're on different power supplies, or even if they're on the same power supply but it's AC and they're on different DC adapters, they've got to share a DC ground there. Or so you can always jumper it across, but it will not talk if that ground is not connected. So one of the biggest oversights that happens in the field for the Wiegand to make sure that the Wiegand unit has a common ground with the Surefire unit. Make sense? Okay. Now we're going to slide right up here to the top. Now the top is simple and a little bit confusing at the same time. Let me explain how it's set up. The red bars on each side are jumper settings, and the jumpers have a neutral position, a 12 volt position, and a V-Bus position. And that's also in the wiring diagrams and stuff I can show you. But those will determine what kind of power comes out of the relay. So you can see jumper 1 will correspond with relay 1. Jumper 2 will correspond with relay 2, right? So the yellow and green in this case are the output relays. The blue and the orange are the input relays. So the input relays are on the inside, output relays are on the outside. So on the other side, it's going to be just the opposite. Your yellow and green inputs are going to be on the inside, and your blue and orange outputs are going to be on the outside. You can also tell that because on the outputs, it gives you the option for normally open and normally closed. All right, so the jumper settings. For the jumpers, I'm going to just scroll down here to one other. All right, the jumpers are set up like this. You have 3 pins on each side, okay? You can see this is relay 1 right here. And here are the pins for jumper for relay 1. Relay 2 is over here, jumper for relay 2. If you connect it to the V bus and center, excuse me, when it comes to the factory, it's going to be like this little red rectangle here at the bottom. That's a neutral setting. When the relay closes, that's just closing an open relay. If you want it to give it 12 volts, you'll move it to the front 2 here, and that will close to 12 volts. So for things like some door strikes and things like that, you need 12 volts. If you want to run 24 or a different voltage, you can close it to the V bus, and it will give it whatever power you are sending through that V bus right down there on the bottom. So you can just determine what you need, and it's very adaptable. All right. Any questions on that before we move to the last little bit? Okay. It's simple, but it has a lot of flexibility. So I kind of went through it quickly, but just remember input relays are on the inside, outputs are on the outside. Those input relays, by the way, are only rated up to 5 volts. So things like loops, detectors, and stuff like that are great. Don't put a 12-volt jumper in there or something. So. All right, last thing I want to touch base with you on just really quickly is, and I'm often asked this, is how we daisy chain. All right, for this, to understand this, basically you realize that the only reason you're daisy chaining is to either increase the distance of a Surefire unit, which would increase a long way, or to have a third point of control. So you can jump a relay off somewhere. And I've used that where you have an RFID reader. It's over on the far side of a nice big driveway. You have a gate operator over here, and then you've got a third point, a controller in a clubhouse or something. That way you can send it across, pull some jumpers off here and there. Anyway, you can do it a lot of different ways. So in this case, you're sending it wirelessly from endpoint 1 to the center. The center can be the gate operator. It can be the middle of a mountain. These two are in the same box together. They're hardwired in, and then it's sent wirelessly to the endpoint. So it goes from here through the center to there. It gives you 3 separate locations. I've connected some traffic lights with those and that kind of thing. So, I just went to get Cindy on. Cindy was trying to get in, and I went to click her in, and it didn't work. So Cindy, I think it was Chittister. If anybody knows her, she can text her and ask her to try one more time. I don't know what I did to her there. All right. Now, this allows you to, we did this in like in a winery in California. We had to go up over the top of a mountain to the backside to a gate. So they hooked one system at the front, put the other one in a solar application at the top of the mountain, and then the other side was down the backside where it opened up the back gate. So very flexible. Things you can do. All right, so as promised, this is my contact information. This is my email and my cell phone. If you call me at 3 in the morning, I will think you were my daughter or somebody, so don't do that. But that's reserved for my crazy kids. But call me if you have questions, if you need anything. And below there is the number you'll need to call for the evaluation kit. We'd love to get these sent out to you free of charge. Our gift to you for being on this training. It's just 385-327-0440, and they'll get you set up. We've only got a couple people answering that phone, so if for some reason it goes on hold, be a little patient or call back in a few minutes. We'd really want to get these sent out to you so you can prove to yourself the things that I'm sharing with you today are actual reality. So what other questions do we have that I can share with you? Or possibly answer to help you. Now, I know that some of the ones, now, Joe, I know you said that you have bought, oh, great question, Josh. For those who have used them, I'd love to hear if you want to chime in. And I know that we're at an hour, so if you want to chime in and tell us how you've used them, we'd love to hear that, a little bit about how it's going. Josh asked where to buy. Now, it depends on where you're in the country, but we have 22 different, well, actually it's even more than that because there've been some added since I counted them last, but we have a lot of different distributors that carry them. On our website, when you first click in on there, it shows where to buy, and it'll give you some options. Some of the biggest ones are the Control Products, Southwest Automated, Gates and Controls, a lot of different ones out there. But you know, there are actually a lot of different distributors that have them. So go onto our website and you can click on a location and then get you going. So Josh says that Control Products is giving him some great prices. So there's a lot of great places to go. If I started naming more, I think I would forget some of them, but there's probably mid-20s to maybe 30 different partners on our website pages. But yeah, a great comment, Josh. Is there anyone else who wants to unmute their mic and tell us a little bit about how they've used the Surefire unit? I don't know if Joe can hear me or not. Joe or Josh, do either of you want to talk a little bit about, would either of you talk a little bit about how you've used it before?
I think everyone's scared.
Okay. Well, you don't have to. It's okay.
Don't look at me that way, Brent.
Can you hear me?
See you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
This is Josh. I have not used it yet. I came in on a project for Pro Data Key that is a 28-door project, all independent buildings for a multi-housing kind of place, and it was spec'd by the integrator, and we kind of came into it and got to buy product. And we installed it, and long story short, it doesn't work. And we think there's some signal interference kind of issues going on, nothing related to Surefire. And so the way that I came to Surefire is largely because I'm trying to figure out how do I rectify this job that has gone way sideways on us. And Surefire is basically what we're going to end up doing once we can get back on site is to replace all these single door controllers from Pro Data Key that are wireless going to each of these buildings, and put Surefire Wiegand bridges to each of these 28 doors. Now it's going to create a busy head end kind of location, but the beauty of this is that it, the longest distance door to controller is about 0.25 or 0.2 miles. And so we are able to reach all of these points. We can go back and get 8-door controllers from Pro Data Key, and then and return all these single door controllers. And the price is, once you add in the power supplies and stuff that are also needed, it wasn't that much more to do this, including the extra labor to go out and replace everything we've already put in. And so this is, fingers crossed, everything works as planned, will be a huge kind of salvage of a project for us that was gone south. And if we had started by installing and using the Surefire system, it would have been a big game changer for us. It saved a lot of headaches.
Great comment. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that same thing. And, I will never bag on somebody else's product, but a lot of times those products are designed around really close connections, and Surefire has come in and saved a lot of those projects that go sideways. And as you know, that can happen really quickly. So great example. Thank you so much. Others that would like to chime in? While you're thinking about that, Charles asked, is tech support located in Utah? And yes, they are. Hours are 8 to 5 Mountain Time. But I gave you my cell phone, and if you are needing help, you're in in a way that you need to do that, you call my cell phone and I'll answer it. And I do that often. I've got a lot of friends, a lot of installers out there that if they have a question about how to do something, they'll call me and I'll answer the phone and help you through it. So, all right. Anybody else? I don't know if anybody else wanted to chime in, but thank you, Flying Locksmiths, all of you. Thank you to Joe and Josh and everybody getting things going for us here. I really appreciate your time. Appreciate you asking questions. And I'll stay on for a few minutes at the end here, just if anybody wants to ask any questions. I'll also be sending the slide deck to Joe that also has some of the highlights of the wiring diagrams. Any other questions before we separate today? Like I said, I'll stay on.
Hey, John, I appreciate your time. I think you were doing this for us, and all of TFL that's on here. I appreciate you guys being here and taking the time to listen to John on this really cool product.
Thank you so much. All right, thanks everyone.
I was just gonna say, if you can call me after this, just to go over a few things, I'd appreciate it, John.
You bet. And am I talking to Joe, by the way? I can't quite tell.
Yes.
I'm looking through the list. I'm like, okay, who am I talking to? Yeah, Joe, I'll give you a few minutes. All right, yeah, I'll stick on. If anybody has any questions, please jump in. Otherwise, thank you. It's been my pleasure. Hope to see you guys out in the field as soon as this crazy wears off. Be safe out there. All right, looks like we're about clear. Joe, I'll give you a call in just a minute, all right?
Sounds good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, appreciate it.
You bet.